What promised to be SpaceX's redemption story has instead become a case of déjà vu. Flight test number 8 of Starship and Super Heavy, the spacecraft meant to carry humanity to Mars, ended not with triumph, but with an eerily familiar failure. After the spectacular launch that had everyone on the ground in awe, we witnessed a perfect booster separation and return. The massive Super Heavy booster gracefully made its way back to the launch tower, executing a flawless catch by the mechanical arms, a genuine engineering marvel. But then came the moment that has SpaceX engineers scratching their heads. As Starship soared toward what should have been its orbital insertion, a small red glow appeared inside the engine bay, a fire erupting in almost exactly the same location as the previous Flight 7 failure. Within minutes, the vehicle was spinning out of control, creating a stunning but disastrous light show visible from Florida to the Bahamas. The V2 version of Starship, with all its upgrades and modifications, succumbed to what appears to be the very same flaw that doomed its predecessor. Welcome to Elon Musk 24 Hours. Today we're breaking down what went wrong with Starship's 8th test flight, analyzing the critical moments that transformed a near-perfect launch into another explosive setback for SpaceX's most ambitious project yet. Let's dive right in. The journey of Flight 8 began with breathtaking perfection. After postponing the Monday launch due to poor weather conditions, SpaceX waited for the ideal moment, just before sunset on Friday, creating a visual spectacle that even the most seasoned space enthusiasts couldn't help but admire. As Starship lifted off, the 33 Raptor engines of Super Heavy painted the sky with their characteristic plume, casting a dramatic shadow across the landscape. The golden hour sunlight illuminated the exhaust in ways that photographers dream about, turning a technical achievement into a work of art. The booster performed flawlessly during its initial ascent, climbing straight up before executing a precise pitch maneuver to set Starship on its intended trajectory. This wasn't just for show. This carefully calculated dance ensures the booster uses minimal fuel for its return journey. As the engines shut down in sequence, something remarkable happened. Despite 2 engines failing to relight, a familiar issue from previous flights, Super Heavy continued its program mission without missing a beat. The engineering redundancy built into the system proved its worth yet again. From the ground tracking cameras, we captured the booster's breathtaking return journey. The hot staging ring, a component designed to protect Starship during separation, was jettisoned perfectly. This ring won't be needed in future designs, but for now, Super Heavy simply doesn't have the fuel margins to land with this extra weight on board. One of the most fascinating phenomena occurred during the booster's descent preparation. As it performed its engine chill-down procedure, methane gas vented through the engines became entrained in the airflow, creating a burning effect that looked alarming, but was entirely expected and controlled. The engines themselves remained protected by a heat shield, keeping critical components at their required temperatures. The booster's approach to the launch tower showed refinement from previous attempts. Coming in more vertically this time, Super Heavy avoided blasting the tower with rocket exhaust, a notable improvement in landing technique. When the mechanical arms rotated to capture the massive rocket and bring it safely home, SpaceX achieved something no other company has even attempted. While celebrations erupted at the successful booster recovery, Starship was facing a critical situation in the upper atmosphere. Inside the engine compartment, a red glow appeared, an ominous sign visible in the camera feed. This hot spot appeared specifically on the vacuum Raptor engine at the 2 o'clock position, and what happened next was tragically familiar. The fire propagated rapidly, eventually causing that engine to shut down, followed by 2 sea-level Raptors. A cloud of smoke erupted, and suddenly, Starship was in serious trouble. With asymmetric thrust from the remaining vacuum Raptors, which lack thrust vectoring capability, the vehicle began an uncontrolled spin. What's particularly interesting is that these engines continued firing even as the vehicle rotated faster and faster. Inside Starship's propellant tanks, the fuel and oxidizer were sloshing violently, uncovering and recovering the sensors, visible in the telemetry as rapidly fluctuating propellant levels. This same sloshing was likely introducing voids into the propellant feed lines, which would eventually damage the turbopumps and cause catastrophic engine failure. Downrange in Florida, observers captured remarkable footage of Starship's final moments. Trevor Mallman's iPhone 16 Pro video provides crucial timing data, showing a series of failures as the vehicle spun approximately 15 RPM. The cloud pattern created by the failing Starship clearly rotated as it passed south of the Bahamas, headed toward the Caribbean. The event was significant enough to trigger air traffic control restrictions across an extended debris area. Satellite imagery from GOES-18 captured the entire sequence: the initial launch, the booster's return trajectory, and ultimately, the catastrophic failure. Weather radar from the Bahamas even detected the aftermath of Starship's disintegration. What makes this failure particularly frustrating is its similarity to Flight 7's demise. Despite SpaceX's extensive testing and modifications to the V2 Starship design, the same fatal flaw appears to have struck twice. When we look closely at the footage, several critical questions emerge. The diffuse fire visible in the engine compartment seems separate from the hotspot on the vacuum Raptor. If the fire was causing the heating, we would expect to see similar heating patterns across all components. So what was the true source of the flames? How did it relate to the larger problem? The telemetry continued to stream for a surprisingly long time after the vehicle began spinning out of control. Approximately 8 minutes into the flight, ground control announced flight termination safe, but this appears to have been someone reading from the mission timeline rather than responding to actual spacecraft conditions. The flight termination system was likely still active and may have triggered during descent. Ground footage shows a substantial cloud and possible particulate debris, while telemetry was still coming from the spacecraft. With Starship spinning at approximately 16 RPM, generating about 6 Gs at the tips, was structural failure inevitable? Did chunks break off before the final explosion? SpaceX's V2 Starship incorporated multiple design changes from earlier versions, including modifications to the heat shield, internal tankage, and plumbing. One significant change was the addition of multiple downcomers connecting the upper and lower tanks, potentially creating more opportunities for harmonics to develop. Think of pipes as guitar strings. Pluck them at the right frequency and they resonate, potentially shaking loose connections or creating fatigue in critical components. SpaceX conducted extensive ground testing, running engines at various power settings specifically to identify harmful harmonics in the structure. They believed they had found solutions, adding extra fire suppression systems and sensors. Yet somehow, this booster failed even earlier in its flight than the previous one. The SpaceX engineering team now faces the daunting task of determining if the V2 modifications themselves introduced new vulnerabilities, or if the original issue was simply inadequately addressed. SpaceX undoubtedly has more data than what was shared publicly. During the live stream, screens visible in mission control showed engineers examining footage from multiple angles. Different views of the spin, moments before failure, and a particularly intriguing shot from inside the skirt that appears to show the exact moment of explosion. These private camera feeds, combined with comprehensive vehicle telemetry and likely additional cameras placed in sensitive areas too proprietary to share publicly, will give SpaceX engineers a much clearer picture of the failure sequence. We've seen footage from inside propellant tanks in previous tests, suggesting the company has extensive internal monitoring capabilities. The question now becomes, what changes will SpaceX implement before the next flight attempt? Will they revert some of the V2 modifications, add additional safeguards, or completely rethink certain systems? The engineering maxim that the best part is no part doesn't always hold true. Sometimes the best part is precisely the one you removed, thinking it wasn't necessary. So where does this leave SpaceX in the future of Starship? Critics are quick to point out that after 8 flights, Starship has yet to reach orbit, something even smaller rockets have accomplished with fewer attempts. But this perspective misses a crucial distinction. Starship isn't just any rocket. It's hundreds of tons of stainless steel designed not only to reach orbit, but to return safely. SpaceX has deliberately kept these flights short of orbit to ensure they maintain control over the vehicle's return trajectory. The company has proven they can recover the super heavy booster, an achievement no other aerospace company has matched. What we're witnessing isn't failure. It's the messy, sometimes explosive reality of pushing technological boundaries. Each test flight provides invaluable data that moves the program forward, even when that data comes from an unexpected explosion. The pattern is clear. Identify the problem, implement solutions, test again, and repeat until success. This is how SpaceX revolutionized the industry with Falcon 9, and it's how they'll eventually succeed with Starship. The next flight may incorporate redesigned plumbing, additional fire suppression systems, or even reintroduce components that were removed in the name of simplification. As the engineering saying goes, sometimes the best part isn't no part, it's the part you thought you could do without. If you found this analysis enlightening, make sure to hit that like button and share it with fellow space enthusiasts. Drop your theories about what went wrong in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on SpaceX's engineering challenges. For continuous coverage of Starship's development and all things SpaceX, subscribe to Elon Musk 24 hours and hit the notification bell. Together, we'll follow humanity's journey to becoming a multi-planetary species, one test flight at a time. This is Elon Musk 24 hours, bringing you the cutting edge of space exploration. Until next time. From setbacks come breakthroughs. These words echo through SpaceX's mission control as engineers analyze the data from Starship Flight 8. The massive rocket stands as humanity's boldest step toward making life multi-planetary, but the journey there isn't without turbulence. Flight 8 revealed critical issues that must be addressed. Engine failures during boost back burn, vacuum engine fires, and thrust imbalances that sent the ship tumbling out of control. The launch site itself bears the scars of this incredible machine's power. Now SpaceX faces its most defining moment, turning these hard-learned lessons into rapid innovations. With launches scheduled at an increasingly ambitious pace, the clock is ticking. How will SpaceX transform these challenges into the stepping stones toward full reusability? What technological breakthroughs will emerge from these failures? Today, we're exploring the engineering